From One Biloxi Square and Studio A in the beautiful city of Lake Worth, Texas. Welcome in, everybody, to the Grandpa and Pappy Show. It is good to have everybody with us as we start another week together and get ready for another week of semi-quarantine. Man, I'll tell you, this stuff's got to stop. It's just going crazy. People are going nuts in their houses. All kinds of comments being made. If you're not wearing a mask out in public, some of these people that are getting very, shall we say, opinionated on the fact that you don't have one on. Yeah. Well, that's my choice, folks. Yeah. If I don't want to wear one, by God, I'm not going to wear one.
You really want to screw some people wear a MAGA mask?
Yeah.
Putting a patent out on that.
No kidding. That'd be a lot of fun.
Bring me some of them Trump dollars back.
And let's see what's going on as we welcome everybody in.
Welcome aboard, everybody.
The Democrats have proposed a $3 trillion relief package that just barely passed the House. But here's the interesting thing, Pappy. 14 Democrats voted against it because it is packed with pork barrel, as we did in a previous show, and they said this is not helping Americans get through the coronavirus crunch, and the Senate has vowed to vote it down, and if it passed the Senate, I think our illustrious president was going to turn it down anyway until all the pork barrel is taken out of it.
Yeah.
I do.
12 Democrats?
14.
That almost gives me
a little ray of hope.
New hope for the other side. Yeah.
Well, reading some of their comments in the news, the reason they voted it down was the fact that I think they're starting to listen to their constituents. Republican and Democrats on both sides of the aisle, Pappy, are really letting their congressmen have it that, hey, we need help for Americans first.
Well, that's what it's all about. Supposedly, that's why they're there.
And there was another thing in there about funding the illegal immigrants and voting by mail. Yeah. Funding all of that, which leads to voter fraud. Yeah. Like you wouldn't believe, but I think those 14 Democrats, and I must give you a tip of the hat, folks, they had enough cojones to stand up and say, that's it. Well, that's enough.
They'll probably be hopping the fence anyway. I mean, if they've swayed to that, I would think that they,
And they had a special election out in California, and this is a big one. A Republican was elected to a Democratic position that had been, I should say, that had been held by a Democrat for a long time in that district. So maybe the times they are changing, maybe.
Say it isn't so. In California, I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah. Well, we've got an interesting program. We got some interesting comments from you because I asked, will the Obama administration suffer from the Flynn case that's going on? And we did get some interesting things. Now, you're hearing or starting to hear, other than the COVID virus information on the unmasking of Michael Flynn, General Michael Flynn, and a lot of people really don't understand what it's about. So, Pappy, if I may ask for your indulgence on this, I did find a great comment from the Associated Press.
Lay it on me.
Who actually kind of broke it down and told us why all of this talking about the unmasking is going on. The Associated Press says, and I'm quoting here, folks, unmasking is described as during routine legal surveillance of foreign targets, names of Americans occasionally come up in conversations. Foreigners could be talking about an American citizen or U.S. permanent resident by name, or a foreigner could be speaking directly to an American. When an American's name is swept up in surveillance of a foreigner, it is called incidental collection, and the name of the American is masked before intelligence is shared with administration officials. Now, former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morrell stated that he emphasized it's not the same as declassification. So the underlying intelligence to include the name remains classified, so that it is a crime to leak it in any form or fashion. Several members of the Obama administration were recently recognized as unmasking former General Michael Flynn for allegedly speaking with a Russian ambassador. At the time, Flynn was an advisor to then President-elect Donald Trump. The document, which showed the members of Obama's cabinet who authorized the unmasking of General Flynn, included Vice President Joe Biden, Ambassador to Turkey Bass, Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough, Deputy Director of National Intelligence Michael Dempsey, and Principal Director of National Intelligence Stephanie O'Sullivan. Then, President Barack Obama also looked at the document. According to reports, Flynn was then coerced by the FBI into telling a lie and was found guilty of lying to the FBI. It has been found recently that the allegations against Flynn's association with the Russian ambassador were false. If unmasking is illegal, this is my question, should the officials of the Obama administration and even Obama himself be held responsible for leaking General Flynn's name?
Absolutely.
Now, what we're talking about leaking is leaking it to the press.
Yeah.
And the media takes off from there, and God knows, and you know, folks out there, how the media reacts when they hear a rumor.
Or leaking it to anybody else, domestic or foreign, to support your own cause or to go against a cause. So, yeah, I think they should be held responsible. You get caught with your drawers down, you get in trouble. You know.
Now, in all fairness, I am going to say this. In all fairness, unmasking should happen if the intelligence agencies find that any American, regardless of who it is, even if it's President Trump, if they are guilty of coercing with any foreign power for anything, any kind of act against the United States, they should be held responsible.
Any form of breach of security for our nation. Yeah, they should be held responsible for it. That's treasonous.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Looking at, we asked your opinion last week, and some of you wrote in to us. Let's see. Bob Baker said there will be minimal ramifications at all because the good old boys club has rules.
Ain't it so? Jerry Blum said it depends on what he has on the Clintons, and that's a powerful statement. A lot of people will laugh about that, but there's probably more truth in that short statement than we realize.
Yeah, that's another program in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, or three.
or three, yeah. John Bossy says, I have said from the beginning that this situation makes Watergate look like child's play. What should happen is that all involved should be tried for treason, based on what you just said, Pappy. If found guilty, they should be hung from the gallows built on the Capitol steps facing the Supreme Court. Will it? No, because the liberal, socialist, Democrats, and the media will create a narrative that this is the president being political, and the spineless Republicans will back off. Not so sure, John. Hadn't got a valid point there, Pappy.
Well, he does have his right to opinion. Billy Bryan said that Barack Obama won't face anything more than public backlash. That's probably true. The rest will get the same as they skirted actual breaking the law. Schiff refused to testify under oath, thereby avoiding a perjury charge. But the one who leaked the information, if and when they find out who leaked the actual information, there's a prison cell awaiting him. He also goes on to say, please let it be Joe Biden.
Billy, the boy from Louisiana.
Big Billy.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Al Covington says he only wants the Democrats to be put under a microscope like President Trump has. He says, I voted Democrat in the last election, but ashamed he did after watching all of the attempts to ruin this president, and he has been found innocent every time. Yep. He says, turnabout is fair play.
Well, and I have a feeling that if Trump does indeed get reelected, that will happen.
It could very well be.
I think he's rather pissed off. R. Brown said on Twitter that he doesn't think Americans can take back our country. He says it's not because we aren't patriotic, but because the politicians in Washington have so entrenched themselves that they can't be displaced, even with a slate of new congressmen.
You know, that's a damn good statement right there.
I have a tendency to agree with that too. I mean, this has been coming on for a long time.
Yeah. I wished I knew what your first name was, but I'm just going to say Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
That's very well thought out and very well said, because a lot of Americans think that very same thing.
Yeah.
And if we don't start raising our voices to those in Washington,
mm-hmm.
you know, we do have a thing called recall election.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
they haven't thrown that out yet?
They haven't yet, and that just absolutely befuddles me. I don't know why. It's there. If a congressman or a political figure in any office
mm-hmm.
is deemed to be not doing their job that they were elected for and not looking and working for the betterment of their constituents,
right.
The constituents have a right to a recall election and have somebody run against them to fulfill that term.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean
even
file that in the back of your mind, folks.
Even if they wiped the Congress slate clean, put a whole new fresh batch of congressmen in there, congresswomen, who the hell are you going to trust at this day and age? Or at this, I mean, it's a sign of the time. Nobody trusts anybody.
You know, Congress has what is called, Pappy, an ethics committee.
Yeah.
What do these guys do? Take, 365 days a year of vacation?
Yeah.
I mean, they cannot see all these ethics violations going on.
A lot of them are part of the ethics violations. Bingo.
Bingo.
So, yeah.
Let's see. Cade Masters said that if the courts or evidence proves any evidence of wrongdoing by Obama or his administration, that all of them should face the maximum sentence given by law.
I agree wholeheartedly with that, but it's not, both sides.
Now, let me ask you a question. I know it used to be,
mm-hmm.
and y'all forgive me because I don't know the updated version, but used to, when you got convicted of treason against the United States,
mm-hmm.
that was a penalty of death.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that still the case, or is it maximum life in prison?
I think it's a mandated law.
It should be very interesting because Attorney General Barr has formed a committee to look into all of these violations supposedly
mm-hmm.
against the president and his administration
mm-hmm.
on this coercion with foreign ambassador from Russia.
Right.
And even though the Mueller report, all of this that was commissioned by the Democrats,
mm-hmm.
showed him innocent of all charges, it never happened, they're still alleging it.
Mm-hmm.
So Barr has made this committee up to start looking into
mm-hmm.
the Democrats and who may have started it, who may have leaked it. And I think, if I read correctly this morning, that Thank you, Karen.
Girls on the ball, isn't she?
Oh, yeah, it is. But anyway, the bar has named an attorney general from Connecticut to head up that committee, and they say he's a bulldog.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fair, but he's a bulldog. He'll uncover it if
And
it's
that's
there.
what we need. That's
Yeah.
what we need.
This, I guess, what Karen was just handing me, we were talking about treason and the penalties. It says, Pappy, whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under this title, but not less than $10,000. Just shoot him.
I can't just shoot the bastard and get it over with. There you go. But I agree, and I think 5 years and $10,000 is a little light myself. I mean,
Personally, I do too. I'm right there with you.
I mean, for example, there are people out there. You offer them a couple of $1 million, they'll do the time. 5 years.
Yeah.
They'll be sweet.
Knowing they'll have that money when they get out.
That's right.
Now, who couldn't use a couple mil?
Well, maybe I don't think I'd go that far to get it. You know?
Now, I ain't spending time in jail for nobody. Nobody.
I wouldn't last long in jail.
No.
I promise you.
Nope, I would not either. But, I mean, folks, you got to make up your mind on this thing. At least it gives us something besides the COVID virus to talk about.
Yeah.
It kind of gets back on what was being said before all this COVID virus crap started, and kind of sidetracked it. But it should be interesting to follow this, everybody, and find out exactly what's going on, and maybe, Pappy, just maybe, they can get to the bottom of it.
I don't know. I'm thinking the way things are strung out this day and age, we won't be around long enough to see it. So,
Well, I'm not so sure.
be watching it from that big cloud up there.
You're not correct. But, man, it's just, the more I hear about all of this stuff, the more sick it makes me at my stomach.
I mean, let us have a flashback. When JFK got assassinated, what was the first thing they said they was going to do? Lock the results or the answers up in a 75-year time capsule. Now, why in the hell would you do that? That's just something stinky. That's why. I mean, it's because they really don't want anybody to know the truth. You know, I guess.
That's I don't know. That's golly. I just wish we could get back to the time where congressmen looked out for Americans.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican.
And I'm sure there's
don't
still
care.
some out there, but
And I'm sure there are. I really am. I'm not condemning as a whole all of our congressmen, but their voices are so minute, Pappy. I mean,
anymore there.
you can't hear.
Yeah.
You can't hear from them.
Yeah, well.
And when they stand up in Congress to take up for their constituents, you know, the rest of them just, deride them and make them look like an idiot.
Yeah, to the masses. And then that's where everything gets out of hand, you know. It creates people like we were talking about earlier that paint F truck on toilet seats and licks it off, you know. I mean, I still can't get over that. They're out there. They're out there, folks.
It's your opinion, ladies and gentlemen. It is your opinion.
Yeah.
And I really do want you to start following this a little bit closer and start paying attention. I'm going to see if I can get a subscription to OAN, One America News. That's what that stands for.
It's a good outlet. Good outlet.
And it is straight down the line. It's conservative. It doesn't form opinions. It doesn't give op-ed opinions.
They don't.
They just report
either
the news.
way. I mean, they'll throw both sides. They'll throw both sides out there and let you determine what's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the way we all need to be. In regards to how you vote, left or right, you need to know the whole truth. You need to know what's going on both sides. So,
that's the key.
then
Knowing the truth.
Then you can make an intelligent vote.
Now what are you sticking over here? Let's see here.
Breaking news.
Oh, okay. Let's see about the breaking news.
This just in.
That's just it. Yeah. Attorney General Barr says he does not expect criminal investigation of Obama or Biden as a result of the Durham probe.
They got to him.
Well, that new Cadillac.
Who couldn't use an extra 20 mil,
Well, yeah, I guess you're correct. But let's follow this, ladies and gentlemen, because it may have long-standing ramifications.
Yeah.
As far as the previous administration.
Yeah.
I know I don't like to cut down former presidents or anything like that. Well, yeah, I do sometimes. That's a lie.
Your nose is growing.
But anyway, let's find out what the real deal is. They have put not Barack Obama, but Donald Trump under such a microscope since he has taken office that let's call it like it is. Let's turn it around and see what the previous president was doing. I think that's your phone going off.
That's all 16 lines.
Yeah. Well,
lit her phone up. Must have been.
Was it something I said?
It must have been that remark you made about dissing former presidents.
I'm just saying, treat one as you do the other.
Now we're all on the same boat.
Yeah.
Let's.
Barack Obama was the media sweetheart.
Yeah.
So anyway,
he was placed there.
Yeah. If you want to put apples to apples, when they used to have March Madness, oh man, they would go to the White House, and Barack Obama had this nice tournament bracket all filled out, and they would spend an hour on him explaining. You realize Donald Trump knows more about sports than just about anyone,
and business in general. That's
yeah. Well, let's see.
I don't.
Of course, March Madness was canceled because of coronavirus, but
of course, damn Trump.
But the bottom line, yeah, it's all his fault. Yeah. It's all in your hands, ladies and gentlemen, because your opinion counts, and we want to hear from you and tell us what you really think.
But your opinion does not count near as much as your vote.
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
So,
that's exactly correct. And
think about what you're voting for.
So
Be
that's the
what
bottom.
You wish for.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
All I can say.
Pappy, we got a couple of great shows coming up, which we're going to touch on here in just a minute. But we want to take a look at some of the viewer comments that you sent in concerning past shows and how you feel about it and what's on your mind, because that's what the Grandpa and Pappy show is all about. It's what's on your mind. And we'll read them, good or bad. Even if it's for us or against us, we read them.
If you get made fun of, don't get mad. I mean, we have right of opinion too.
That's true.
Bruce Walker in Amarillo, Texas, said on YouTube, comments that we need him on our show. So he can show us what he really thinks about this country's leaders.
That might be Bruce, funny.
If you're anything like you were in junior high and high school, no.
Now, Bruce, if we get you on the show, remember now, we don't have a delay on this thing.
That's right. Oh, you think you don't know what comes out of my mouth. You get Big Bruce on the show, he'll tell it like it is. Rob, appreciate you sending that in, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce.
Hope you
thanks.
And yours are well up there.
Rob Moore said on Twitter, our show on coronavirus coverage by the media was spot on.
Yep.
He said, I am so sick of it and want them to just report that our country is open again for business. Wouldn't that be
That would
nice.
Be a big lie, because it's not.
Now, you were telling me a little bit earlier before we started our show that some of the bars now are going to be able to do 50%?
Restaurant bars.
Or restaurant
I don't know
bars.
about bars. That's still probably a big mess.
Yeah.
Our field office.
Yeah.
I was in there yesterday, and it's a restaurant bar. Unless it's been pushed back again, they're supposed to go from 25 to 50%. Mm-hmm. So does that mean that I can sit 3 foot away from you when I'm in, or?
That's a damn good question.
Stephanie wouldn't answer that. She just said, "Oh, JT, I'm so done with you."
Well, that's the way it is, I guess.
Oh Lord.
Let's see, what do we got here?
Rob Moore.
Yeah, I just did that
Oh,
one.
okay. Patricia Norris said she just finished watching the Mother's Day salute and hopes we do the same for Dads. You can count on it, sweetheart. She said she'll be listening to see if we do, so she can send in her dad. And we will welcome that picture and comments.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate that.
Tia Grant of Lubbock, Texas, says she is curious if all Americans would be willing to flood our congressman with our anger at being cooped up in our houses for so long. Well, that would be interesting to see. I mean, if we had a contact at our congressman's office and called him and say, look, how many complaints have you had from your constituents concerning this quarantine?
That sounds like a good Google item. I mean, find anything else on Google. But I bet it's going on. I do.
Yeah.
I bet it's going on.
I don't know. But if it's not,
Probably.
you folks need to start
Absolutely.
contacting your congressman and letting them know that you are not happy if you are not happy. Now, we have received comments, Pappy and I, here on this show that we've read you that people are going to stay, they've elected to stay in their house and protected because they're afraid of getting out.
That's your right.
That's your absolute right.
I'm not dissing you for staying home with your head under a pillow. Don't diss me for sniffing around and going to the field office and drinking a cold beer.
Yeah, what did our illustrious buddy up at the field office, Eric Hudson, say? If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask.
Yeah.
If you don't.
Stay home. Stay the hell home. That's your right as an American. Al Braxton of Houston said a pal turned him on to our show.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, thank you, pal. He said they watched the show on motorcyclists and appreciated the fact that we made the general public aware that they should watch out better for those on a cycle. We appreciate that comment, Al. And being an old pseudo-native Houstonian for 35 plus years, I can relate to what you're saying.
That's very true.
It's scary enough driving four wheels around that town, let alone two.
I'll agree with you on that one.
Yeah,
you
boys
will.
be careful out there on those two wheelers. Doesn't matter if it's Houston or cut and shoot.
Well, we've said it many times.
Yeah.
Pappy and I have, that your comments are what makes this show.
Yes, they are.
And we want you to keep sending those comments in, good or bad. And we have two avenues that you can do that.
Yeah.
First of all, you can send it to our email address, which is grandpaandpappy@gmail.com.
Or they can go directly to our website, www.grandpa, in the letter N, grandpaandpappy.com. And while you're there, push the button, subscribe. It'll take you directly to YouTube, where you can give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, leave a comment, whatever you want to do, and we'd love to have you aboard.
Absolutely. A couple of program notes we want to talk to you. Our next show is one that Pappy came up with that I'm really excited to see all of the comments, and you'll pardon my voice, I'm about to lose it. But are you willing to have a chip inserted in you and take a vaccine?
Oh, hell no. No, sir.
Now, just looking at some of the comments that you've received based on your post.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, man. I mean, this really teeters on the religious aspect of things, especially if you know the book of Revelations in the Bible.
Well, it kind of expounds on New World Order. One world order.
One world order,
Whatever you
yeah.
wanna call it. There's a lot of different avenues we can take on this.
Yeah. That should be an interesting show, and that's coming up on Wednesday. And you still have time to answer us. Let us know what your comments are.
Let's hear from you.
And we'll be sure to read it out there.
Absolutely.
Now, also, coming up on Monday, we have a very special program
Yes, we do.
which honors our veterans, those who have lost their lives in times of war, serving in the military. But we also opened it up to those who have served in the military. So if you have a relative that lost their life, send us their picture along with their name and where they served, where they lost their life.
Yep.
And if you have a picture of a relative that served in the military, send that to us. Same thing. Give us their name.
They're all heroes.
Yeah, they're
Everyone.
all heroes in our eyes, and we're going to make sure.
You bet.
Our buddy Brian Emerton is supposed to be making us a special musical background, not political, but patriotic background music for Special K's montage that she's going to be putting together for us.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. Yeah, you won't want to miss that show. It's going to be an awesome show.
Shout out right quick to our sponsor. Tequila. And
Good
if
stuff.
your fine spirit store here does not carry Circulo tequila, just simply ask them to get a hold of M&L in Odessa.
And tell them that Grandpa and Pappy told you to do so.
Absolutely. And we would certainly appreciate that. Shout out to the Palmore Realty for
That's
Studio A.
For our beautiful
We
One
appreciate
Biloxi
that.
Square studio. Yeah,
And
appreciate
we
you guys.
had a good time today.
We did. It was a
And
nice
we want to
show.
invite you back with us on Wednesday for another edition of the Grandpa and Pappy Show. So until then, please stay safe.
Take care of one another.
Use your head. Be safe.
And we love you.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.